I am woman phenomenally. Phenomenal woman? That's me, Maya Angelou. Welcome to this segment of the Afrocentrist podcast, The Woman, Her Story, and Her Impact, where I get to speak to women from across the globe, sharing their stories and how they are impacting their world. Coming to you every Wednesday, 4 p.m. GST. Of course, with your favorite show host, the energetic EJ. So make it a date with me every Wednesday. The Afrocentrist Podcast, proudly African.
And it was a real God moment where he just spoke to us specifically. I don't know if you want me to share about it.
Please go ahead.
My husband had come home from work one day and he was just like, work is hard already. And he's taking care of all of us. And there's all these educational and medical expenses on top of all the household drama. And constantly coming home and, hearing your wife complaining about your kids all the time. Oh, he was screaming like this today. He threw this tantrum. He had a meltdown. I was so scared to go to the shop with him. This was our life, I don't know how I did it, but I never allowed my fear to keep us locked up. I was always like, Aloysia, you can't let this make you scared. How can you be scared to go buy bread? You need to eat.
Wow.
You need to take your kids to the shop. You've got no one to leave him with. So while the fear was very real and palpable, I had to just be like, so what? So what? Just go. Just go. Nobody knows you here. Nobody's going to go and call the cops on you or go tell so-and-so about your kid because they don't know you yet. Just go. Like, why are you even embarrassed? I had to have these conversations with myself.
Whoa.
So he comes home one day and he's just really fed up and we're getting ready for bed and I see him picking up the Bible and he used to read the Bible regularly and I hadn't seen him in a long time. So I was like, oh, what are you doing? And then he said, I'm looking for wisdom.
Oh.
So then I said, what are you reading? So he says Proverbs. And in my mind, I was like, I don't think there's a single proverb that's going to help us with our situation right now. But anyway, he read his proverb, and then so I was like, so what did you find? So curious. And it was something about being responsible with your money and, planning for the future. And I was like, I don't know.
How does it help?
So then I asked him if he was done, and then he said he was. So I said, can I have a turn?
So maybe you will find the wisdom you need. Oh, sweet.
In the past, I'd tried to guess. And then on this particular day, God really just spoke to us. And I don't know what made me ask for the book that day. I don't know if it was probably the Holy Spirit leading me, but I took it and I just said a quick prayer like, we need something right now. And so I opened it and then it opened to John 9, the beginning of John 9. So I just started reading from the top of the page, which was the beginning of the chapter. And so there's a man born blind, and then the disciples asked Jesus, so whose sin there? Was it him? Was it his parents? Whose fault is this? Looking to blame someone. And so this was very specific to us because, we were at a phase where we were blaming each other and ourselves. Oh, it's my family. It's from me. Wow. I got it. Or, no, it's your family. You see, your family got it, So Jesus responds then to the disciples and says, that actually doesn't matter. That's not important. And actually, neither his parents nor him sinned. This has happened to display the glory of God. And suddenly it was like, God, wow, this is exactly what
specific
I needed to hear. This is what he needs to hear. And it was even a bit awkward. because now he's already turned over to fall asleep, and then I'm like, do you want to know what I found? And then so he's like, okay, and then I told him, and he's like, okay, and he just, he turned around, but I knew that it was really going to be
like this was something.
This was the turning point for us now. It was only going to go up from there. I mean, we were right at the bottom, and there were a lot of obstacles and hurdles that we had to overcome, but it was only to get better and move up and learn to cope and deal and accept also this new life of ours now. So it was really from that point where God really started the transformation in all of us.
Wow.
And I can only say it's a miracle when I look back, because each one of us has come really, really, really far since then, and it was only 4 years ago.
So how's your son now?
So he's 7 now. At the time, he was babbling. He couldn't really say words. He had his own language. My husband could decipher it. I
don't speak it.
What's the boof, Mom? What's the boof?
What's his name?
No, it's Daniel.
Daniel. So you don't speak Dan.
I'm not.
But thank God that he does.
So it took me a while to understand his language, and then slowly, with the help of really amazing therapists and the school that he goes to, he's now able to speak so that you can understand him. And the benefit of living in such a melting pot of cultures is that he can almost get away with not being noticed as
one
having
particular
autism even, because he can speak now to a point where someone will say, oh, maybe English is not his first language. So they can understand him, and they can have like a proper back and forth conversation.
I like that.
So I mean, of course, when we're with people who do speak English, people will be like, why he says it like that, and you don't say it like that, and they try to help him, even some people, which is fine. But it's almost like we have the grace to be free to have autism and have it comfortably, and not be
just confused, and then just like that denial is really, really. I think what has really come for me from your story so far is the earlier and I just love this epiphany that you shared, like when God's saying, see, this is not your fault, just taking yourself out of the situation, right? And knowing that it's not always just about you. Yes, this has happened. Why you, but why not you? Right? So there's always a reason for some of the challenges that come to us, no matter how difficult, whether you're going through depression right now, anxiety, or you're going through a divorce, or your finances is like in shambles, your business is not going the way you expected, your kids are not behaving the way that you brought them up, and they're just like, what's going on? Why is my life upside down? Another way to look at it is, God, what exactly are you doing here? And I'm just so excited about your story and how that happened for you as a family. Like, for me, that's the biggest part of your story as of now, because I know that there will still be more. There'll be more, things to come, and stories to tell and miracles to happen. But for me, it's the fact that it happened not just to you, but to your family. Because it might have been harder if it was just you who got the epiphany.
True.
Right? And thank God it was your husband who opened the Bible first. So, I'm looking for wisdom. So it was easier when you said, you found this, my turn. It was easier for him to okay, so what did you find? Otherwise, I think if you had started that conversation, it might not have please, right? So that was legit a miracle.
It was.
And I celebrate that for you. So when you want to talk how has this story so far shaped you into impacting other people now? Because I heard, when we're having a conversation earlier, talking about how you're now passionate about you're actually even going to study to know how to, take care of special need kids. You're going to school for that now. And now you're thinking about how can you create more awareness for others. So tell us, like, what has that story or your journey so far to that point done for you now, and how you're impacting your world?
Okay, so it was during lockdown last year when I decided to study again. Because I wasn't working for a while, I had been thinking I want to study, but I wasn't sure exactly what I should do. And so I was playing around with a few different ideas. So I was like, I wanted to be a teacher in the first place. Maybe I should do something in that. Or now that I'm growing in my faith, maybe I should learn about that. But I was also a bit reluctant to waste money, and it's not where God wants me to go. So it took me a good 2 to 3 years to really get to decide what is it exactly I should do. And so during lockdown, I was at home with my son. And, I do believe that teaching is a gifting God has given me. And I have been able to teach many people different things. But I find myself challenged with teaching my own son. And so I decided then to study special needs education with a specialization in autism. So that I could understand him and then also learn how to teach him. Because what then is the benefit of me being able to teach the world when I cannot impart knowledge to my own kid? So I then decided to do this course. And it wasn't just for me, because in the process I started meeting a lot of different people. I had an opportunity to share about autism in lockdown on a coaching platform. And then I started meeting other families with autism. And then my autism community started growing. So I felt like studying this would not benefit me and my kid only, but I could also help other mothers dealing with their issues and go through that process with them. I must say it is a challenge because, autism moms are a very specific type of person. And sometimes they don't want too much. They need to go through those waves on their own. But just knowing that there is someone available to help when they need it. Yeah, so I want to be able to offer that support to any autism parents anywhere. So I'm part of groups here in Dubai and in South Africa. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what I'm learning, because I'm not even just learning about autism. I'm learning so much about myself as well. Wow. And my mind is changing about different things, the way that I look at it, and it's affected the way I look at politics and policy. It's the way I look at any individual who's different and unique. Putting aside my prejudices and being aware that I have those things, and working on those things before I interact and meet people. So it's really been an amazing journey. And so besides the support groups that I'm involved with, I'm really looking to see where I can basically change the culture. The culture, not just here, but in my own home country, because there's still so much need and lack of education and awareness around autism. At the time when we were getting my son diagnosed, we were going to one of the specialists at a hospital, and he was so tired at the time of our appointment. He'd fallen asleep in the car. And so I didn't bring a stroller with me because I thought he'd be awake and walk in, and he was so heavy at the time. I really couldn't carry him, and I had his little sister with me. Wow. So I couldn't carry him into the doctor's room, and so I had to wake him up, and he started throwing the biggest fits. Like, he was melting down to you just won't believe. Wow. And he's kicking and screaming in the parking lot. And then this old woman was walking past and giving us these strange looks, that
control your kid.
Yeah, and she says in the native language there, this kid is crazy. And back home it's easy to speak in a native tongue if you think the other person can't understand you.
And you don't look like it.
So I was really so upset. But in the moment, I'm rushing for the appointment. My kid is throwing himself on the ground. He's screaming. And I cannot address what is happening here in front of me. And he's like 3 years old, 3.5. And you're an old woman, you should know, like, kids behave in a certain way. Like, be sympathetic, help the situation, but you're throwing insults to injury here. But anyway, obviously I couldn't stop and say anything to her, so I had to continue into the doctor's rooms. But the culture is just so
still rigid and still like not open-minded about it yet.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just one incident, and there's so many other incidences that I can tell you about, of families, not just with autism, any disability or special
anything
need.
Special needs, actually.
And so my aim now is really to break into the typical side of the culture, because in the autism society we all know this, we all understand it. It's just breaking into that so that we can get other stakeholders involved to help come beside us and then take this message forward to be more understanding and inclusive. And so this is really the idea of the storybook I was telling you about.
Yay! Dr. Aloysia is going to be working on a storybook.
I hope it comes to life.
No, on this show we speak life, okay? So I'm speaking it into existence that very soon, hopefully before this time next year, Dr. Aloysia is going to publish her storybook, which is going to speak to autism, but actually towards, focus towards the kids.
Yeah, so
why the kids though?
So so you thought I was writing a biography, and then you got a shock when I said no, it's gonna be a kid's storybook.
Why?
I just think kids are so much. Their minds are so malleable, and they're so ready to learn and take things in, and which is why it's from that age parents can instill these negative ideas into their very receptive minds. So I feel if I can do a storybook that speaks to little kids, if they can learn to be understanding and accepting of others' differences and challenges, then from the top side, the adults and advocates can speak to parents, and if they don't want to llisten to us, then maybe they'll listen to their kids who are learning about this. So that's my hope. And,
we're hopeful, and it's a good one.
It'll be able to
it's a good angle. Yes, absolutely. Catch them young, let them understand. It also helps them because as they grow, they know, okay, there are differences around the world, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Guys, I really do hope that you've been impacted and inspired by this story, especially if you are a parent of a special need kid, or you know somebody or a family who have a special need kid. Please, I mean, as I sit here listening to Dr. Aloysia, I'm just like, wow, it is actually a lot. It's a lot to handle. So please be nice. When you see kids throwing tantrums outside, don't be quick to judge the parents. Don't be quick to scold the kids. Just try and see if you can help. For example, the one incident she shared, if this boy is throwing tantrums and you can see the mom holding a baby girl and then trying to, there is nothing wrong. At least offer. And if they say no, thank you, it's okay. But you've tried your best. Because I think I would have said, let me help you with the baby girl while you, maybe console this little boy and say, okay, are you okay now? All right. But let's just be nicer to people. You really don't even know, just the enlightenment, from your story has just changed something for me. Because can you just imagine that your 5 senses, your touch, your smell, your hearing, your vision, and you are on either extreme of both, and the different senses has different extremes. Can you just imagine what those kids are going through. And for some who have been like that for so long, there is no cure for autism, is there?
So autism is a lifelong condition. You're born with it. And so we actually didn't speak about the social understanding of autism now. And so the culture is moving away from seeing it as a condition, but a difference. And so science is showing more and more that it's really just a divergence or a different way of brain development. And there are more and more people being born with it. And so it's starting to look like it's within normal, but it's different.
So what exactly causes it?
Okay, so at the moment there's no clear understanding what is the cause, but there's definitely a genetic factor. They have discussed things like infections, either in the mother when she was pregnant, or at delivery, or in the kid in the early ages of his life or her life.
Are you serious? No. Like, a kid could be born normal and then catch an infection that causes autism?
But so that's the thing, because it's multifactorial. If their brain is developed or created to be that way, the infection may
further expand
may initiate the process of how their brain works. Okay.
Wow.
So then there's also toxins. Certain toxins behave in that certain way. And then there's also some brain injuries that cause those types of behaviors as well. So nobody knows what causes it. There is a very strong genetic component. There's still lots and lots of studies being done. But there's nothing that's conclusive to say this is what causes it, which is why it's moving towards just different development of your brain. And our brain is so complex. You cannot, if you just knew, you cannot come up with an algorithm or a picture to describe how your brain works. It is so complex.
Wow.
And there's so many things working so differently. And even within typical people, your brain is so different to my brain. And it's the same with people with autism. And so, like I say, the culture is now moving away from the ideas of condition or someone with autism. And the culture is going towards identifying a person as autistic. And they saying to you, I'm autistic because this is a major part of who I am.
Just like somebody say I'm dyslexic.
Right. So this is my brain, and this is how my brain works. And it affects every single living moment that I have on this planet. So it's not really a condition that can be cured or managed or go away. This is my brain, and this is how I live, and this is my experience of the world.
Wow. That's a lot to handle. So guys, like for me, my message from this discussion is just be nice. Think about what other people are going through, and just don't. Let's try and work on our judgmental faculty. Let's work on our judges, guys. I know it's hard. Like if you don't even have an idea, it's hard to put yourself in people's shoes. But I think if you always take time to pause before just saying, "Hey, what's wrong with this woman? She can't even, control a kid." Like that's even a thing in Africa, anyways. Like people look at you and like, what kind of where's your mom? Where's your dad? Why are you like this, right? But please, let's take a moment to pause and see, if, oh wow, maybe this person is just different, all right? So before we leave, I normally ask a question, but before I go to the question for the day, I'll ask you to one last thing to say to moms who have special need kids. What would your word be for them?
My word would be to you is, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to not know. It's okay to feel lost for a bit. But don't allow that to stop you from learning and growing. Because it's actually such a privilege to have a kid who is different and unique, because they allow you to see the world in such a different way and a different perspective. There's actually more that you can gain from having a kid with needs than even a typical kid. And so I can see the growth that has happened in my life, and I believe the same can happen for you if you just take this opportunity to develop yourself in learning about your kid and your kid's needs and challenges.
Wow, I love it. Thank you so much. Because your situation sometimes is not just for you to change it, but it also changes you.
Yes.
And that's something to also, look out for and be grateful for. Like, okay, because of this, I now know this and I'm now like this. I'm now a better person. All right, so normally would ask a question for every episode. So for this episode I'll ask you to ask a question. So I would love, I believe like there could be one person, it could just be one person. Like I'm a one person, but also like I just feel like if you can do it for one person, you can do it for a million people. But that one person is just special for me. So if you're that one person and you have a question for Dr. Aloysia here and say, you know what, I'm not even sure how to handle it. I don't know. And you have a question, please send me the question. You can send it in the comment section of the Afrocentrist podcast or my personal page, or you can send us an email to theafrocentrist@gmail.com. How can people connect with you directly, by the way?
Okay, so I am on Instagram as Dr_Aloysia. I am on Facebook as Dr. Aloysia. I'm also on LinkedIn as Aloysia Ogle. I'm also on Twitter.
like I'm there, but I'm not there.
You kind of dabble with Twitter.
I know, like that street is too road for me.
Otherwise, you can email me at dr.aloysia@gmail.com.
Awesome. So I'm going to put all of those details in the description of this episode, both on YouTube and on Buzzsprout. Please remember to sign up, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast itself. You know already that the Afrocentrist podcast, we now have several segments, and this is just one of them. So we have more content coming up to you on the Afrocentrist podcast. If you fit into any of the segments and you'd love to be featured, please do reach out to us. You can just send us an email to theafrocentrist@gmail.com. Whether you're a woman who has a story to inspire and you are making an impact in your world and you want the world to tell your story through our platform, please do send us an email. Or you're a business owner and you have solution or products for other businesses, right? So you can also reach out to us for Business Monday. And very soon we're also introducing Discovery Tuesday. It is, yes, Discovery Tuesday, where the host of that particular segment will be talking around discovering your identity and how it affects your relationships, right? So these segments are coming up on the Afrocentrist podcast. Watch out for them. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and the podcast itself. Also, you can support the work that we're doing here if you feel like you've ever, gotten any content that, spoke to you and you want to support us. You can buy us a coffee. We'll leave the link to also, we'll attach the link to both the YouTube description and the podcast description, where you can just click on the link and buy us a coffee. All right. Thank you so much for listening or for watching. Okay, so that is where we come to the end of this episode, guys. I'm gonna see you next week with all the episode on the Afrocentric podcast.